today we have Haskar. He is one of our Chevening scholar, and he also the founder of a law firm, right? And he's gonna go back in the
it's a policy advocacy firm.
Oh, okay, thank you. So can you introduce a bit about yourself so our friends can know about you? Yep.
Okay. My name is Bhaskar Pant. I'm currently doing an MSc in Public Policy and Administration at the London School of Economics and Political Science on the Chevening Scholarship.
Oh.
I worked with the Indian government on a lot of things, on policy issues, on rural livelihoods, on communications, and before coming to London, I started a policy advocacy firm called Policy Monks.
Oh, yep.
And I'm currently working on my dissertation in London.
Lovely. So we're gonna have a lot of information about your journey and also your business. So let's start with the story. What made you decide to come to the UK? Yeah.
So actually, it was not always that I wanted to be in the field of public policy. During my graduation, when I started studying in college, I actually studied journalism.
Oh.
And I started my career as a journalist and worked for 2 years as a journalist. Then I had met with an accident, a very big accident. I was bedridden for 2 months. And during that time, I somehow realized that maybe journalism is not the thing that I want to do.
Oh.
And a chance meeting with a former boss who made me meet a minister in the Indian government who happened to like me, landed me in the field of public policy. And after that, I have never looked back. For the past more than 6 years, I have been in the field of public policy. It's a field which is still very new in India. So initially, when I started working with the government, I didn't knew that what I am doing actually is public policy. But after like 2-3 years being in the field, I realized that okay, I do public policy, and I realized that although I had worked a lot in the field, I didn't have an academic grounding in the field because I had studied journalism. So that was one of the reasons that I decided that okay, it's time that you take a break from work and study what you want to do your whole life. So that made me come to the UK to study public policy.
So hopefully the accident was not serious, but you're still here, so I'm sure that everything okay now, right?
Yeah.
So what made you decide to join journalism area, and then and what did you learn from that experience? Yeah.
So actually, I was very, even when I was young, I was always interested in writing and reading. I mean, that was something that I really wanted to do. Actually, initially when I passed my high school, I wanted to study literature. But then my father was like, what are you going to do after studying literature? Do you want to be a professor? I said no. He said, what do you want to do? I said, I don't know. I like writing. He said, so why don't you do something which will help you professionally? And that's why I decided, okay, let's try journalism. And 3 years I studied it. I really liked it. Then I started my career as a journalist, and I started writing on music, films, theatre were some of the beats that I wrote on. But somehow I really liked politics. One of the reasons being my father is a retired professor of political science. So I grew up in an environment where we were always talking about politics, about political scientists, about the Indian independence movement. I heard stories about the Indian independence movement from my grandmother. So there was always this environment at our home we were talking about politics. So politics was something that really interested me, and how policymakers make policy, how the government functions. When during my course in journalism, I had a course on international relations and a course in Indian politics. So it was not something that just came out of nowhere. I mean, I was grounded in a study of politics. And 2 years in journalism, I liked journalism, but there was something that was missing. Maybe because I was not covering politics. Had I been writing about politics, maybe I would not have left journalism. But since my beats were really different, and it was something that maybe I was not finding too challenging, and then the accident happened. And for 2 months, I ended up reading a lot, and most of the stuff that I was reading on was about politics and policy. So I decided maybe it's time to do something different, and then there was this person who, when I was a student in college, I had done an internship under him at one of India's biggest newspapers called the Times of India, and he had just returned from London actually, studying masters in journalism and communications. So he had joined one of the ministers in the Indian government as his communication advisor, and he just wanted to meet me. So I went to his office for a casual chat, met him, and he said, "Do you like to meet the minister?" I said, "Yeah, why not?"
Why not?
23-year-old guy, and I was like, "Okay, yeah, it's a big thing. Why not?" And I met the minister, and we started talking, and he was asking me about my interests and stuff. So I told him I really like politics. He's like, "Would you like to work with us?" I was like, "But I don't know what I'll do. This is something new." So he said, "Yeah." So that's how it happened.
You mentioned that you met that guy, but can you just share how did you make him like you, or why did he kind of like approach you? What did you do to him? Yeah. So
basically, I met the minister. When I met the minister, so we were talking. So that was back in 2011. I don't remember the exact month, but it was the time when Twitter, Facebook, and all these things were coming up in India, and especially like the ministers and the member of parliaments had just started using it, but they had no idea how to use it. And luckily, I was very much into Facebook and Twitter at that time, and he just asked me, "Do you know how to tweet?" The minister asked me, "Do you know how to tweet?" I said, "Yeah, I love Twitter. I'm always online." He's like, "Would you like to teach me how to use it?" Because my minister was like a 63-year-old guy, a retired, an old guy. He said, "I don't know what these things mean, but I know it's important. My party keeps telling me that it's important. That other ministries are doing it. So would you like to help us?" So I was like, "Okay, I can give it a shot." And so initially when I started like working for him, it was more related to like social media. But eventually, due to my interest in politics and due to some projects that I did on the ground, my foray, my work shifted from being a communication guy to a policy guy. I did some work for him, like I did some campaigns, I did some projects. So that's how it happened.
Okay, so the lesson learned here is that you gonna go to Facebook or Twitter, just kidding. But you actually you provide, you bring the values to people, and people need it, and you had opportunity. So I could see that you had accident, but it turned out to be the good thing. But then a lot of the time it happened like accident, and we may have that moment of frustration. So did you have that kind of feeling like negative, even though later on it become a good thing? So how did you overcome that? And what is the main thing you learned during the time you was journalist? Yeah.
During the time I was in the accident?
Yeah. How did you feel when you had the accident, and how did you overcome that feeling and actually you got the good opportunity?
Actually, it was really, really, really sad for me because it was a very major accident was the thing. So I was bedridden for 2 months, and I was really sad because my dad was working, I was staying with my parents, my mother was working, so I was alone in the house. I could not walk properly, because I had like 3 fractures in my foot. So it was very hard for me, and I couldn't do anything actually. Like, and I really love playing cricket, and like walking in the park and like just going out and like sit and like roam around. And I couldn't do any of those things. All I had were books, and the laptop.
So, the learning from that, you actually made the best out of situation, right? You gotta read books.
Yeah, so I said, make the best of it.
Right.
And I had a lot of books in my house, my parents' books, my books, so I ended up reading all of them, And yeah, but it was really hard because even after the accident, like I was using a stick to walk for another two months. So it was very difficult for me. But then I think the best thing is like everything, even the bad things that happen in your life, there is something that you can get out of it. Okay. If it's all about your determination and your perseverance.
Attitude, right?
Attitude, yeah, your attitude. That is what is important.
Wow.
I mean, yeah.
Thank you.
There is also silver lining in the cloud.
Thank you for sharing it because it really reminded me about my sister. She got accident and she could not walk normally, and it turned out to become a good thing in her life in a way that she became a really positive person, the best ever positive person. And now I know like your case, I said it's pretty inspiring. So make the best out of that, my friend. So after that accident, and you turned out you met the minister, and then, so can you share about why did you approach to Chevening scholarship, and what is the thing that you learned from that journey? And if you wanna,
this was the second time I applied for my Chevening scholarship. The first time I didn't get it. I was really sad.
Cool. I mean, it means that we never give up.
Yeah, I was really like the last time I applied. I was really sad because like I couldn't understand like.
Oh my God!
Like,
Look at me.
why I didn't get it? Because
who else?
Yeah, because like there were because 2 years ago I was just starting to think that maybe I should study, and like I had people who had worked under me, you know, who were going for further studies, you know, getting scholarships, and like not Chevening but like other scholarships in Europe, in the States, studying public policy, and I was like, if they can go, maybe I should also try. You know, I've been working for too long now, and I applied for the first time. I did my essays well, I got recommendations, but I didn't get it. I was really sad.
Because you didn't meet the Prime Minister yet, right? Did you meet?
No, I was working with the minister.
Oh, you met him already and you didn't.
Yeah, I had worked with him for like 4 years when I applied.
Oh, so what is the difference between the first time and the second time you applied for the scholarship?
I think one of the most important reasons was like till the time the first time that I applied, I had worked with the minister in the government, but my experience was more like a lot like I had created a lot of value for the society, but maybe it was not enough, you know, because during the time of my first application and the second application, I went to work on a World Bank project with the rural women on sustainable livelihoods, and I did some amazing work there. I mean, that is the work like in the 7 to 8 years of my work experience, that 1 year I count as like the most amazing work that I have ever done in my life. I don't know if I'll ever be able to replicate that again. So working with rural women, you know, creating value for the poorest of the poor in a country like India, I think that made the difference for my application for the next year, because Chevening looks for people who actually do something, you know, something different, you know, that creates value, not just from their own field, but maybe something like an add-on. So I think that was one of the major reasons that the next time that I applied, I mean maybe there were other reasons also, but as far as I remember from my first application to second application, one of the major changes was the work that I did with self-help groups in India.
So copy paste and add one.
No, okay. that 1 year was a lot. So it was not just copy paste. I had to.
So lovely.
Even my in that 1 year, what I actually, so I think there is a question in Chevening application where they talk about how do you see yourself, you know, 5 years from now.
Okay, so how do you see yourself 5 years?
So so even that transformed. Like earlier, my whole focus was, you know, that I just want to work in politics, you know. But then I realized, you know, it's not about, you know, what exactly I want to do in politics, you know. So I envisioned myself that, you know, maybe 10 years down the line, I want to be an elected representative, because I've worked in policy making, I've worked with policy makers. So why not be a policy maker yourself?
Yep. So why not?
Yeah.
Okay, so that is the vision you have yourself, and you envision that in the other people, and people can see that they invest in you and they have good return investment because you will make a difference in a bigger way. So beautiful. But so let's talk about the moment you didn't get the scholarship the first time and you felt like, why not me? So how did you overcome that feeling? A lot of people, they give up the first time, like, you know. So how did you overcome that kind of give up mindset? Yeah.
So I was really heartbroken because I had, like, everybody had to, like, people around me had told me that you should apply for different countries, not just look at the UK. Why didn't you apply to Singapore? Why didn't you apply to European universities? Why did you apply to the States? And I was like, but I want to go to it, because I always had this mind that I have to go to LSE. I mean, LSE was the place that I wanted to be in. For some reason, I had this thing about LSE.
So what happened with LSE? Can you share? Yeah, what is the?
No, I got admission to LSE that year. That was again a very sad thing, because I got the admission and I didn't get the scholarship. And I was on the verge of going, because although my parents are not like rich, like we come from a middle class family, but my father was like, if you want, I'll give up all my savings if you really want to study this, you know.
Oh my God, we support it, yeah.
And you won't imagine, Jen, I had booked my air ticket for London. You know?
Really?
I was about to finalize everything, and then I thought, maybe it's not the right thing to do. Give it another year. Don't give up. You know you are good. Trust yourself, and don't waste parents' money. It's a lot of money. Let them use it for their own. Yeah, let them use it for themselves. And even though my dad was really supportive, he said, if you want to go, we'll do something. We'll make arrangements. Like, it'll be hard for us, but if you really, really want to do this, go. But then I said no. And it was really hard. Like, for months I keep thinking, what if I don't get it next year?
So what's your parents pay money?
Yeah, and I was also getting old because I was, I think, 28 the first time I applied, 29 the next time I applied, and I was like, maybe after 30 I'll lose the will to study altogether. So yeah, it was really hard for me, but then I had really good friends, my people at work, like where I was working, my boss at the World Bank project that I was working for, a bureaucrat, he was really supportive. He was like, I'm very sure that if you try hard this time, and it was also affecting my work in a way, because I kept thinking about the Chevening and my course, but he said, focus on your work. If you do good work, if you create value in the society, they will take you, and that's what happened. I got it the next time.
Beautiful. So I really thank you for saying it, because you said about the moment you didn't get it, you were really confident. If you didn't feel like you're confident, maybe it's easier, but you was like, wow, I could get it, and then you didn't get it, and you get down, it's so high, and then you go
next
down.
Time I was not confident. I was like, maybe this year they won't also take me, and when I got it, I was like, no, you're good.
Okay, but I think like you said right, because if you know you do the right thing, you add value and you contribute, and you never give up, because people can see that you actually serious about it. You do it for a reason, and nobody would say no with a person keep asking and keep working. And I interviewed with around more than 30 people, and around 5 of them, they said they applied the second time and they got it. If they stop, maybe they didn't even know. So my friends, never give up.
Yeah, never give up.
Beautiful, Prahaska. So what about one special advice that you have for any other scholars if they want to apply for a scholarship? What is the thing that you think you learn from that application journey?
I think one of the things that Chevening looks out for is how you can contribute to your how you can contribute to the society. Again, the fact that it's not that you have to be a policymaker to create value, or you can be in any field. You can be a journalist, you can be someone in the field of education, you can be a doctor, even you can be a person who's doing working with a consultancy firm in management. We can all create value. So if you see yourself a potential in yourself that you can create value in the society through the studies that you will do in the UK, and you can convince Chevening that you are someone who is going to create value in your society, in your respective country, you can get it.
Okay.
It's a lot of people tell me that you have to be from a really institution, you have to be really it's a very strange thing. I would like to share that. So before leaving for the UK, I met, I would not like to name the person, but he's a member of parliament from India, a very famous guy. And I met him for a courtesy call to let him know that I'm going for the Chevening scholarship. I've got it. And he asked me about my educational background. So I did my schooling from a very, very elite school. I didn't do my undergraduation from a very elite college. My journalistic career, I didn't start with a very big newspaper or something, So he was actually surprised how I got the scholarship. He was like, because he said, I have recommended people who have studied from the most elite institutions in the country. So it really means that they rewarded you because of your work and what you have actually done in your life, which is a very good thing, he said. So that is something that, because sometimes I know people who don't apply for Chevening because they think that it's maybe too big for them. They have this inherent fear that, maybe because they come from a background, they maybe, I was not highly academic in my whole life. I mean, I scored decent marks. I was not like a topper or something, you know. So that is something that you don't have to think about.
Totally agree, because Chevening, what they look for, the people who contribute to life.
Yeah.
And it's also about how you grow as a better person and you trust in your ability and you contribute. At the end of the day, it's about that, right? So it's about what you're going to do and really contribute and what you have been doing. It's not really like, you know, that's the part of educational thing or all the thing, but it's about your intention and your actually desire also. Beautiful when you share that, because a lot of internal fear that people have, even that is not true. So thank you. So
Thank
do
you.
it if you really want to. Yeah, do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I have
Back to my policy firm.
yeah, cool. So what about when you enter that interview? A lot of people asking about that. So how did you set your mind, and what was the process of that interview, and what did you learn from that? Yeah.
I was really nervous because that is one thing that I'm really bad at. I'm really bad at, I'm very good at taking interviews because I've interviewed a lot of people when I hired them. But I'm really bad at like when someone interviews me. I have not had like a really good record of, to be honest, very good interviews. So I was really scared. But the people, like, they're inside the room, they were really, really nice. The one thing that they focus on is like what you filled up in your application. Do you actually live up to it? That is, they judge you on, they don't want to ask you something out of the blue, something new, but what you actually wrote in your application. Do you actually mean every word of it? That is something that they look out for. And I think I did good. I mean, I was really happy when I went in. I was really nervous, but when I got out, I was a happy man.
How did you overcome that nervousness? How did you manage to do it well during?
I think I would not like to thank myself, but the people who were interviewing me, they made me really calm. The way they approached me, and also I think on my like speaking about myself, I just kept thinking about that I have to get it.
I love that.
I went inside with the thought that this year I'm going to the UK. I have to get it.
Yeah. So I think take away from us, like you said, like, okay, so you focus on the outcome. This is gonna do it and you're gonna make it happen. All the internal fear and the nervousness is gonna be gone because you have that bigger purpose. Wow, beautiful. Okay, so we're gonna go a bit like, so what about, how did you have that desire to contribute to life? Because a lot of people, they keep hearing about like we need to make contribution to life, but how did you have that kind of desire and that kind of intention? Yeah, where did it come from?
To help people?
Yeah.
So I think a lot of that has to do with the fact in the environment that I grew up in. Like my parents were always like, my dad was always like that, and I grew up listening to stories of India's independence movement, because my great grandfather's friends were like, they were freedom fighters. So my grandmother used to narrate me stories about them, that what they did and everything. And I always wanted to like something that like I come from a family where you have a lot of people who have done professionally amazingly well. I have bankers in my family, engineers, and like even my parents wanted me to be an engineer or a doctor, but I said no, I want to do something different. For me, it has always been like, it's important to earn money, but I have always had this thought in my mind that money is not everything. You have to do something, you have to contribute to the society. I mean, you can still earn money and contribute to society. I mean, a lot of people in my family were against my decision of joining the minister when I did it, because they were like, why are you leaving? Because politics and government, like politics is in India is still something seen as a very murky area, especially now in 2016 I'm talking, you still see young people coming in, working with ministers and member of parliaments. Back in the day when I went, we were like a very small minority, so my family was like, my relatives were not, but my parents were always supportive of the fact, like even when the minister that I was working for, the government that he was working for, it went out of power in 2014. And my parents and my family, my relatives, they were telling me, why don't you go into consultancy and something. But I said no, I want to do something different. So I decided to move out of Delhi, which not many people do because Delhi is the capital of India,
Yes.
and went to work 5 hours away in a place called Jaipur, which I was not really familiar with. And even in Jaipur, kind of work that I was doing, it involved me spending at least 10 to 15 days in the villages of the state, with no facilities, no bad sanitation quality. I was sleeping on the floor with the people that were living there, and when I used to tell this to my family, they were like, why are you doing this? Why can't you work in Delhi?
Yeah.
But I told even my friends, apart from my best friend, both of us went to work on that project. So everyone was asking us, why would you leave the comfort of living in a big city, living in the capital of the country, and go and work in villages? What are you going to get out of it? But I was like, no, I'm doing something good. It gives me pleasure, and when I got the scholarship, then these people realized, okay,
Here we go.
it helped him in a way. I mean, that was not I'm not saying I did it for the scholarship. I really wanted to do it. But then they realized, good work, if you do good work, you get rewards.
Yeah.
So it's important, like, for anyone, and I'm not saying that I like people who work in the banking sector. I know some amazing people who work in the banking, who work in the corporate sector and do amazingly good work, apart from the corporate sector, they engage themselves in, NGOs and stuff. So you can be in any field and you can do good work and create value for the society.
Lovely. So how did you overcome all the, saying all the doubts, questioners, all the people who keep telling you about what are you doing? How did you overcome that? Can you share? How did you have that strong determination? Yeah.
It was really hard. It was really hard at times. I used to feel that maybe there is something, and that happened when the first time I didn't get a Chevening. I felt
it's the same thing happened at the same time.
Yeah, maybe some people are right. I'm not good enough. But then I kept telling to myself, that what I'm doing, my heart says that, what I'm doing is good. So it's very important, that it's very important to listen to others, but I think it's very important also to listen to yourself.
Yes.
That is something people don't do. Yeah, I mean, we get carried away by listening to what others have to say about us. It's important, sometimes others can be right, but sometimes you yourself, your own voice, you have to listen to your own voice, what your own voice says. So sometimes your own voice can be good. And I really had a very good, I had really nice friends around me. My friends were really supportive of whatever I did. I mean, they really understood me in that way. I mean, most of them were not directly in my field, but they knew that what I was doing was right. Yeah. So that helped.
It's so lovely. You have support, like accountable partner, like from your friend, and you also have that really determination. So what are your inspirational choices, like in the moment of doubt, you kind of like don't feel confident as you maybe feel sometimes. So what is the way for you, like book or any kind of like sources? Yeah.
So whenever I'm like I get down, I mostly read works by Nehru. He was our first prime minister.
Okay.
Who came from a very rich family, one of the most affluent families in India, studied at Cambridge, and then he decided to leave everything because he wanted to do work for the country's independence. So whenever and the way he talks about our country, about how he explored the country, there's a very good book called The Discovery of India, which is one of my favorite books. So whenever I feel lost, I discover myself through The Discovery of India.
So how did you know that book? Yeah, before you knew that book, what happened? What were your inspirational choices? Yeah. How did you come up?
No, that book has been with me since I was a kid.
All right.
Because my father did his PhD on the Congress Party, on India's independence movement. So in my whole house you have books by Nehru and all the political leaders. So I didn't read all of them, to be honest, but this particular book really touched me.
One is enough, yeah. So if you keep reading over and over again, can you share the difference between the different time you read? Because I also know different people, they read over and over again one book.
You read one book, but like when I reread Discovery of India, it's not that I reread the whole book. Maybe I read some chapters, some quotes by him that really inspire me. And it's not just him. Like I sometimes, who else? I sometimes read. So I'm not a very big fiction fan. I read fiction, but I'm more of a non-fiction fan. So I read him. Then I read about Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar, who was India's first law minister, and who actually studied at LSE, where I'm studying right now. So I was really happy to. So I read him. So I think the thoughts of other people really inspire me. You know how they, in their own lives, faced hardships and overcome them. I think that's what's really inspiring for me. I think that way it's important to listen to others, but listen to yourself, but listen to the thoughts of others who overcame hardship and succeed in life. It's very important.
How can you sustain the habit of reading book, and do you have any other habit like helping you develop as a better person?
See, it's very important to understand what you like reading. Sometimes people don't read because they think it's boring. You know, and so it's very important to like find like for me, I don't read everything. You know, I'm a very big non-fiction fan. I read about politics, history. There are very few. If you like, there was a time when I was really interested in literature, but if you ask me now, I haven't really read many authors. I mean, there is a very little of fiction that I read. But it's good to have hobbies. I mean, hobbies really help you a lot. I used to love doing theatre, you know, and I like listening to music. So when I came to London, I've watched like a lot of plays. I even did like a short video for Chevening on Shakespeare.
Really?
So it was really nice. Come in, Jack.
What about the Chevening journey in London, or let's say like how did you make the best out of that? What is your advice?
It was really nice. I mean, I met some amazing people in LSE. I met some amazing people from other universities, from different countries. I mean, that was one of the best things about Chevening and coming to London. I mean, it's so multicultural, so diverse. You know, I think that was one of the best things, and I made the most of it. I traveled a lot, not much around the UK, but I traveled to Europe, some cities in the UK also. I spent a lot of time doing things that I used to like, because when I was working for 7 years, there were things that, for example, theatre. You know, I used to love watching theatre, but then due to my job and everything, due to all the travels, I couldn't do it. So I watched a lot of plays at the Shakespeare's Globe. I went to some concerts because music is something also that I really like. So yeah.
So what is your advice for people who go to the UK? How can they make the best out of the experience?
Have a good balance, you know, focus on your studies, but don't focus too much, you know.
Right.
And make new friends, do things that you like. It's
how can you have the balance?
UK is an amazing place to be in. It's very cosmopolitan, you know. So yeah.
So how can you have the balance? That is the question.
That is, you know, it all depends on from person to person. You know, I have seen people who have spent their whole year in the library, and I've seen people who are rarely seen in the library, but still they do good. So it all depends from person to person. It's very individualistic, you know.
So how can you manage your priority or different like things like studying and travel?
I just knew what I had to do at the time when it happened. You know, so for example, right now if I'm focusing on my dissertation, I'm doing that.
Okay.
But then I'm still talking to you. You know.
Okay.
So
I have schedule, right? And then you focus.
Yeah.
Oh, lovely. Thank you. So my friends, perhaps can just give you like the kind of like scheduling and then focus, do it like with your heart, like you said. Okay, so now we're gonna move on to your business. Why did you have that business idea, and what was the challenge that you met at the first time? How did you overcome it?
So policy advocacy is still a very new, like even within public policy advocacy is a very new field that is coming up. And before coming to London, I had worked briefly for a policy advocacy firm which was owned by a friend of mine. And working there, I realized, you know, this is something that I can do on my own. Why to work with someone on this?
Why not?
Why not create something on my own? And I talked to my best friend and former colleague, you know, the one that I told you about, and he said it's a good idea, and let's do it. But then we had no idea, because we like my best friend, his family still runs a business, but I don't have anybody in my family who has ever tried his hands at entrepreneurship. So then again, people were questioning me. What are you doing this now? Why
Okay.
this? And but like I'll send you a link of my firm's website. So we decided to do it, and there were again a lot of senior people who came forward to help us. We set up a team of very senior advisors, former bureaucrats, people from academics, people working in the policy space, and we decided to set it up. And although in the past 1 year my partner has not been able to do a lot with it because obviously he's alone, so he's really waiting for me to come back and start pushing the firm again. But yeah, we even within that 1 year we have been able to kickstart a lot of things, and yeah.
Can you share particular thing that you actually overcome and push the business to the next level? Yeah.
One of the things was financial difficulty because we had no capital.
Yeah.
So whatever money that we put in for say for example building the website, registering the firm, all this money was our own money. And initially we thought maybe let's go to a venture capitalist, ask someone else to fund us. But then my best friend was like, this is our baby, so we have to take care of it, nobody else.
Yeah.
And people were saying, why? Because and it's very hard because once you're working for like a really long time and you're used to getting a fixed amount of money in your account every month, and suddenly it stops, and you realize that you have to go out and earn money on your own. It's very difficult, but it has its own thrill, working as an entrepreneur, because you realize that you're working for yourself. You have to make it work for yourself, otherwise you won't survive. So I think that is something that really really helped me, because I knew, because I was living in Delhi, I had no place of my own, so I had to fend for myself. And for that I had to make this work. So we worked hard, we were able to get a lot of people on board, and we started working on certain projects. One or two even got us some money only like 2 weeks ago. So
wow, congratulations.
Thank you. So my best friend is now really happy. He's like, you should come back and we can get the ball rolling.
So you're not giving up because you're actually working for yourself and you have like freedom, right?
Yeah.
You're gonna make it happen because you already have this vision. You started while you start. So what is the vision for your firm and for yourself when you're going back? Yeah.
So we in like 5 years we wanted to be like one of the biggest policy advocacy firms in India, because as of now there are very you can count them on your fingers. Like this field is very new, so very few policy advocacy firms. We want to be at the interface of policy and development, because again my motive with the firm is that yes, we want to earn money, but we want to create value. So even though we plan to work with multinational companies who are coming to India, helping them navigate policy risks and regulatory risks, we also want to make sure that the kind of projects that we do, that we indulge in, create value for the people.
Yeah.
So
what is
that
the
is
difference in your business? Like what is the unique selling point in your business?
So basically, right now, you don't. If any MNC comes to India, how do you work with the government? That is, one thing that is there on everyone's mind. And you don't have, you do have consultancies, like even big consultancies like EY, and but they charge hell lot of money, and I would not like to question their credibility, but in terms of how actually the government functions in India, how the system works, it's something that very few people know. Yeah. Either you are a bureaucrat, you are a career bureaucrat who has worked in the government, or there is a very little minority of people who have actually worked in the system to understand it, how it actually works. This is where we come in, because my firm, we have a person who is a retired bureaucrat, and she retired like just 2 years ago, and at a very senior position. So she knows the system, how the system works. I know how the system works. My best friend knows the system, how the system works. We have people who are from the research background, who also know, who apart from knowing how the system works, know how to file good policy briefs, good policy papers. So that is why my firm is gonna be like very different from anything that exists there.
So let's
Right.
learn from here. Like you have your experience and you package it in a way that can help people and create values for people.
Yeah.
So lovely. What about how can you make the best out of working in a team with the people in your business? Yeah.
Sorry.
How can you make the best out of working in the team in your business? Yeah. Can you share about how do you?
Yeah, it's like I always like I've always had this thing. So the people in my team, like they all come from very different backgrounds. Apart from me and my partner, none of them are there for the money as of now because we don't have too much. So they are all on a very all on a on an honorary basis. So we are not paying them anything, but they also have this vision that they want to make something big and create value for the society. So
how did you get them? How did you get these people?
So one of the things that I learned like working with the government was how to be good at networking. So I for the 5 years apart from doing the amazing work that I did, I networked a lot.
All right. So networking.
Yeah, networking is the key. Like it's a key anywhere you work. So these were all contacts that I made during my previous professional work.
And a lot of people go for networking, but then how can they make the best out of that? How did you make the best out of it?
You have to sustain it. And network. You don't have to like do networking in a way that it's gonna be like something which is gonna just help you professionally, but it has to be at a very personal level also.
So you go out for drink and
yeah.
Okay, cool.
And you have to cultivate your networks.
I love the way you say about sustain it, and actually if they like follow up, you can just like go there and get the card and then never actually use it. Maybe call them and email them or just provide some value, get a coffee, yeah. So, cool. I think we're gonna finish now, and if you have one advice for our Chevening scholar after they go back their country, what would be your advice? Yeah.
Just be the best at what you plan to do and do something good for the society in what you do.
Okay, cool. Thank you, Haska. Hope to see you in person and all the
best
to your.
Sure.
Yeah.
See you soon, Jen. Bye bye.
Take care. Enjoy dinner.